evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. We're happy to have all of you here tonight. Welcome. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Lake Myra Elementary School student Nora Jacob. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nora. Nora has been an outstanding example of student leadership from the first day of school. Her attitude toward her peers is unmatched. She is willing to synergize with any student and always seeking the win-win option in every interaction. She has faithfully served in her student leadership position and recently served as a school ambassador on the Lighthouse Committee to help with the early enrollment process at Lake Myra. She continues to put forth maximum academic effort in all subjects and is keeping to begin with the end in mind. Lake Myra Elementary School uses the Leader in Me philosophy, and that's what all of these things mean. Nora is a shining example of what it means to be a Lake Myra Otter and a student leader. My goodness, we are very proud of you. I had a chance to talk with Nora a little bit before the meeting tonight, and she is such a mature young lady. I'm very proud of you, and I know you're going to go on and do great things. So we can't wait to see that. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our invocation from the Wendell Council of Churches, we're going to hear from Pastor Wallace Johnson.
Hey, good evening, Mayor Gray, Commissioners. Glad to be here. Last week we had a conversation at the Christian Church. Mayor Gray came and presented to the Council of Churches a little bit about where the town is anticipating to go and some of what the churches might do to participate in that. It was very helpful. So I hope you all will pay attention to how the churches become involved, be a little more involved than we have been in the past, so that's great. If you don't have a church home, find you a church to go to. I don't care where you go. I'm partial to the Methodist Church, but go somewhere. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we gather here as leaders in this great town, Wendell, and pray for your wisdom and for your guidance, for your peace that surpasses all understanding might prevail here in this town. And pray as we anticipate Memorial Day this weekend, we would not just treat it as a 3-day weekend, but observe the holiness that comes with remembering those who have given their lives, that we might have freedoms like praying in town council and going to church, finding freedom in faith. As always, we pray this evening for our commissioners, for Commissioner Joe and Phil and Deans, John, and Jason, Mayor Gray, as they lead us into our bright new future as 2030 vision. And it's through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
We have no one signed up for public comment tonight, but as a reminder, you can participate in public comment in our regular public comment before our meetings or public hearings by signing up for public comment the night of the meeting, submitting a written statement to the clerk, or calling in on the Uber conference. You can arrange that with the clerk as well. For regular public comment, that will be for 3 minutes. In public hearings, it will be for 5 minutes. That's the quick of it. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
With a motion to approve the consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 4 is recognitions, reports, and presentations, and 4A is the recognition of Lake Myra Elementary School Lead Secretary Joni Bailey. This was submitted by the principal at Lake Myra Elementary. Ms. Bailey has been with Lake Myra for 12 years. She started off as our first PTA president, then made the leap to data manager, and finally landed at lead secretary. While she has the title of lead secretary, she is so much more than that. On many days, she functions as our nurse, behavior support, classroom support, lunch duty, and student-parent support. She is always willing to go beyond her job description and fill whatever void there may be. She is calm and confident, and that continuously puts our school and community at ease. Miss Bailey will be moving to another school next year, and her absence will be felt throughout the building. There is no way to effectively communicate what she has meant to Lake Myra Elementary. We love you, Miss Bailey, and you certainly deserve to be recognized. My gracious, we wanted to have you here tonight and recognize you for everything you've done, and thank you for what you've done for our kids in Wendell. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 4B is the water management plan presentation prior to submission for the 2023-2028 term. We're going to hear from Joseph Collins.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm excited to be before you tonight with some highlights from our draft stormwater management plan. In previous years, the town, has completed a stormwater gap analysis for our upcoming permit audit. And one of the major components was to write a stormwater management plan, and here are some of the highlights of our plan. The plan's main structure is the 6 minimum measures of compliance with the MS4 permit. Those are public education and outreach, and we are working to continually improve our website. We work with the Clean Water Education Partnership through a subscription, and they help us with all of they help us with materials and bodily support and displays, like at the Harvest Festival, and we just had the neighborhood cleanup event where they let us borrow the catch basin, which is a great thing for the kids to see how the water goes down the drain. Twice yearly we do a Wendell communication, and we're constantly sending updates out on social media. We're hoping to begin school visits in the fall, COVID aside. The public education public involvement and participation. We recently had a creek walk and talk. We were and a trash pickup through the park, and we are planning an upcoming stream cleanup in one of the park properties. Illicit discharge detection and elimination. Illicit discharge, any discharge that's not allowed under the permit, which is basically anything but rain. Improper connections to the stormwater system, such as a sanitary sewer or a gray water connection from a home or business that is connected into our infrastructure, or any unapproved roof drain that is tied into our system as well as illegal dumping, which would be deliberate dumping of trash anywhere in the town. Construction site runoff. We work in partnership with Wake County for development review and inspections of our construction sites within the town. The director, assistant director, the stormwater crew lead, and compliance staff, as well as myself, are certified stormwater inspectors, and we dedicate what time we can to checking things out. And Wake County, we currently identify issues, and if we're unable to gain compliance from the contractor, we speak to Wake County, and they are our enforcement mechanism at this time. And they also complete their scheduled and periodic checks of the job sites as well. A dedicated stormwater inspector is identified in the stormwater gap analysis and is slated for future personnel request. The post-construction site runoff controls, which are SCMs, which is a stormwater control measure, and some examples of those are ponds and bioswales and engineered wetlands. All of these require owner maintenance and inspections on an annual basis, and those records of inspection get sent to the town. Pollution prevention and good housekeeping, that's the town's responsibility, and that's how we as a town structure our operational activities to stay in compliance with the permit. Up through fiscal year 22, we've worked throughout the town and public works sites, and in fiscal year 23, we're going to continue working to bring all of the town sites into compliance. Some of the MS4 permit is a regulatory required permit, and we have to have so one of the last pieces of our 2018 through 2023 permit is the resubmittal of our new permit for 2018 through 2023. That submittal date is June 30th, which is 6 months prior to our permit expiring. This whole management plan was created with the guidance from our gap analysis, addressing needs where we can improve in our efforts. It's the framework of our stormwater section outlines the focus areas for the permit term. It focuses any stormwater problems in the town using an equity lens as well. It incorporates the Neuse River rules for nutrient management, and we recently, as a town, fell under the umbrella of these requirements. The current corporate limits of our town fall all within the Neuse River watershed, so any water that falls on the ground in the town all goes to the Neuse River eventually. And this ensures that there's less impact to the Neuse River watershed. So, some more information about the Neuse River rules. So, the Neuse River rules were created through the North Carolina General Assembly, and the state agency in charge of the program is NCDEQ Demler. It limits our nitrogen runoff within the town through our new construction projects, and there's more documentation that the town has to do to ensure that we're complying with that. This is implemented by local governments, and we're scheduled to begin this in March of 2023, and I believe with this plan and those rules, we're on track to be exactly where we need to be. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions?
Just a real quick one. What's an illegal roof drain?
That'd be an unpermitted roof drain that's connected into our stormwater system. I mean, if through development, if the roof drains are allowed to connect to the system, they're allowed, but if they're not, and a lot of times it's all historical properties that may have once connected, and they may not be legal, but it's a matter of checking it out. Because sometimes, unfortunately, those roof drains became a tie-in for somebody's washer and dryer that then has gray water going to the system.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Item 4C is a presentation of Wendell's Tree City USA Growth Award for 2021. We're going to hear from Philip Smith.
Madam Mayor, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight to share this with you, and thank you for all that you do to support the program and our tree board looks to accomplish each year. So yeah, Wendell this year is a proud Tree City USA community. I want to share a little bit about what Tree City USA is with you guys. Tree City USA is one of the oldest national running programs for the National Arbor Day Foundation, started in 1976. The founders stated that their vision was a greener, healthier America and hoped that their initiative would inspire change on a nationwide level. The Tree City USA program provides clear guidance for towns such as us for planting, maintaining, and removing trees from streets, parks, and other public places. There are 4 standards that I'd like to share with you today about how Wendell becomes a Tree City USA community. These 4 standards are maintaining a tree board, which we do, having a community tree ordinance, which was adopted for the town of Wendell, spending at least $2 per capita on urban forestry, and celebrating Arbor Day, which we do annually. Catch up on that. And to share a few benefits of Tree City USA, being a Tree City USA community publicly demonstrates our commitment to thriving tree canopy, a healthier environment, reduced stormwater runoff, cleaner air and water, increased property values, and offering a place to call home that is both welcoming and aesthetically pleasing. We also, in addition to that, we gain national recognition for our commitment to environmental stewardship. We also are able to provide education to residents about the value of trees and green spaces, and also, whenever we're not in a pandemic, we can also visit our schools, which we'll return and do so, and share not just with the older residents at our community events, but also with our kids, which is a big thing that we like to do. We also create a healthier, cleaner, and more natural urban landscape in Wendell, and we will receive community recognition through flags, signs, and other materials that we proudly display, such as our road signs. We have 3 different road signs entering our town in various areas. We are very proud to say that this initiative started in 1976, and we are now in our 39th consecutive year of Tree City USA. Looking forward to next year when we celebrate our 40th one, and look forward to having everybody there for that with our Arbor Day event. And a little bit about a growth award. This is something that we've recently, over the last, say 4 or 5 years, started looking more into. There are various ways that the town can improve on what we're already doing. We look at a long list of different areas that we can work on, and we don't want to just meet our standards. We want to go above and beyond and excel in that. So a little bit about the Growth Award is basically only presented to towns that are qualified as Tree City USA communities, and that they demonstrate higher levels of tree care, community engagement throughout the calendar year. This is what we did in 2021 during the pandemic especially. Tree board members held 2 public guided tree walks, one in the spring, obviously to highlight the trees as they were blooming out, and a second one in the fall to help identify trees in our community at Wendell Falls. 2 different times of the year, you know, seeing trees as they bloom and then seeing the different colors that allow both young and older residents that attended these tree walks to learn more about trees. We were also able to have tree board member Travis Kiker, who is a professional in the tree industry, come out and conduct 2 tree pruning seminars for town employees. We focused our areas downtown with our live oaks that are, we don't have many in the town, and they were showing some distress, and we came in after some pruning, worked on cleaning those up a little bit, cleaning out a little bit of a dying tree canopy that we had so that they would look better. And also at a later time, we addressed our fertilization program with the Public Works Department to help those trees have a better lifespan. Another area that we focused on again during COVID, we were just unable to have special events such as our Arbor Day event that we like to have. It's always been a highlight of our year. We work closely with Town Clerk Megan Howard, who has a unique talent of working with videos, and we created a publicity campaign to produce 5 tree-related educational and informative videos during COVID-19 that were aired on Facebook. And those areas that we covered were the history of Arbor Day, importance of trees, reading of the proclamation by Mayor Gray, Trees to the USA requirements, and the proper way to transplant a tree. Those are the highlights of our program for this past year of 2021. Do you guys have any questions at this time regarding Trees to the USA or our efforts with the tree board?
Any questions from the board?
Let's make a quick comment, Mayor. I just want to thank you guys. I know Travis and I've talked to him a couple times. I do want to say as a plug for our 40-year anniversary, let's plant 40 trees.
Sounds like a plan.
Let me know.
Yes, sir. We'll make it happen. All right. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. All right, item 4D is a proclamation proclaiming May 15th through 21st, 2022 as National Police Week and May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day. The Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. So we have a proclamation from the town of Wendell proclaiming such. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week, and whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the Wendell Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of those inside the town of Wendell, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our Wendell Police Department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas all citizens of Wendell should remember and recognize the men and women who serve and protect them, and keep in mind that there are law enforcement officers working in the town every hour of every day to ensure that they remain safe. Now, therefore, as we near the end of the week of recognition, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the town of Wendell, do recognize the week of May 15 through 21, 2022 as National Police Week, and further recognize May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of their duty. Duly proclaimed this the 16th day of May 2022, and it's signed by me.
We're gonna try something different. If the board can stand in the middle, like behind the mayor and chief, and the award proclamation.
So no matter what. All right, item 4E is a proclamation proclaiming May 16 through 22, 2022 as National Public Works Week for the town of Wendell. We have a lot of folks here in Wendell that work really hard for us. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as streets, public buildings and grounds, parks, solid waste collection, and snow removal. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works employees. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the community's understanding of the work they perform. Now, therefore, as we near the week of recognition, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the town of Wendell, North Carolina, do hereby designate the week of May 16 through 22, 2022, as National Public Works Week, and further extend appreciation to our Public Works Department for the vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to our community. Duly proclaimed this the 16th day of May, 2022.
Oh, no, not again.
All right, we have no public hearings tonight. So we'll move into our administrative items, and the first is item 6A, Wendell Historical Society alcohol waiver request for June 16th, 2002. Ms. Smith.
Good evening. The Wendell Historical Society plans to host a premiere night for benefactors and patrons of the Wendell Museum on June 16th, 2022. As per their lease with the town, the Historical Society is permitted to hold events on property and plans to serve food and wine at the event. Because the event is located on town property, we do require the Board of Commissioners approve the consumption of alcohol on property. We've included the Code of Ordinances section that outlines that regulation. Alcohol will be served from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. by a bartender to ensure responsible limits. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, for a motion.
Yes.
Move we approve the alcohol waiver request on June 16th, 2022 for the Wendell Historic Society.
All right, we have a motion to approve the request. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. No one opposed? Nothing? Okay. Item 6B, State Planning and Research Funds Application Feasibility Study for Passenger Rail Service from Raleigh to Greenville. Mr. Coates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's request is to make a motion on letter of support for the State Planning and Research Funds application to study passenger rail service from Raleigh to Greenville, which would go through Knightdale, Wendell, Zebulon, and Wilson. NCDOT Rail Division has submitted a state planning and research application to study the feasibility of that service in fiscal year 2023. The study area for the service is from Raleigh through Wendell and Wilson to Greenville. NCDOT's 2015 long-range plan does include passenger rail connection between Raleigh and Greenville within a list of connections identified for that study. Just a key note, in 2003, the town of Knightdale did complete an East Trans commuter study, which looked at different corridors. One of them was from Raleigh to Wilson at that time, and they also looked at from Raleigh to Selma through Garner and Clayton. So this updated study, a lot has changed in the region since 2003. Staff is supportive of this, and new comp plan, Blueprint Wendell, identifies a variety of goals and objectives related to transit within Wendell and the region. High level of connectivity for the town's residents is one of our plan's 5 major goals. Improving the connectivity, robustness, and resiliency of the transportation system within and near Wendell is essential. Priority action from the plan includes working with our partners to increase that mobility and accessibility, whether it be through roads, transit, walking, biking, and technology improvements. Current I-87 route between Raleigh, Wendell, and Greenville is projected for increased growth. The potential connection between Raleigh, Wendell, and points east would allow further regional transportation development in our metropolitan area. Staff requests that the board authorize the mayor to submit a letter of support for the study of the passenger rail service.
Right.
And I can field any
from the
questions.
board?
Quick comment.
Yeah.
I know that y'all have heard me in a lot of my recent Campo updates talk about commuter rail on existing rail corridors. And that certainly is very much on the way from Durham down to Johnston County through Raleigh and other parts of the Triangle. And I think that, you know, we've all heard lots of conversation over the last few years about light rail and other sorts of mass transit. And I think that the conversation there really has a lot of potential to be a real boon and just, I mean, transformational investment in the Triangle is commuter rail and making investments on existing rail corridors that are either, whether they're underutilized or utilized to some extent, finding ways to incorporate passenger rail into those corridors, I think is a really big opportunity, and one that I hope the board and staff and others will continue to. I think that we're at a place right now where conversation and excitement around this conversation is important, and just having it on people's radar that this is even a possibility and a conversation that's happening within some of these folks like DOT's Rail Division and others who are thinking about what this could look like in the future. And I know that if we can make it happen, this is sort of a very, very, very early step one for what would be a long-term project, but I think if we could get an investment like this made, it would transform Eastern Wake County and Eastern North Carolina in a lot of ways too, for the best. And I think I would be happy to make a motion when you're ready for it, Mayor.
Yeah, whenever, this is something that I've heard talk about on and off for quite some time. I'm happy to see it moving up a little bit. I've always wondered why we don't use the train tracks that are right here, right now. I've thought about that many times. So, yes, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'd move that we, let's see how you've got it worded, that we move to permit the mayor and staff to approve or sign the letter of support for the SPNR funds application for feasibility study for passenger rail service from Raleigh to Greenville.
All right, so we have a motion to send a letter of support for the State Planning and Research Funds application to study passenger rail from Raleigh to Greenville. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, is that just a letter only? No.
Yeah,
No funds.
just a letter that we'd like to see it.
Okay.
A letter of support. We support it.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, all right, thank you. Item 6C is the fiscal year 2022-2023 Town of Wendell budget ordinance, fee schedule, and pay plan. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Honorable Commission. So, here tonight at the end of hopefully the end of a very long process. It seems to start right after it ends, and I like it. But staff's asking for 4 separate motions tonight. The first is to adopt the Town of Wendell budget. That's the actual policy document. Second's the motion to approve the fiscal year these say 2022, they should all be 2023, I believe, in your packet. My apologies. We are looking at the 2023 budget. Motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 fee schedule, and motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 pay and classification plan. Unlike this slide, the documents before you and attached are pursuant to state law requirements for the budget under the Local Government Budgetary and Fiscal Control Act as required. The budget submitted balanced, and it's consistent with the fiscal policies of this board. A lot of the people probably see the budget as a large document that puts the numbers in to fund the government. And that's true. But I hope that the public, with the transparency that's provided in the document and the amount of information and the effort we go to show what we do and why we do it and how we do it in a clear method as we can, as complete method as we can, helps identify and link the policy directives of this community and this board with the resources allocated. The budget document is, in effect, the largest policy document that each elected body makes in every jurisdiction annually. Without those resources, without that commitment, staff's not paid, supplies aren't purchased, facilities don't run, vehicles can't move. And so by approving a document, the elected body sets its priorities for the coming year. And I hope that with this budget that's been presented and that we've worked with you on since the budget retreat back in late January, February, that the budget priorities that y'all directed staff are evident. The first thing that staff heard from the board was invest in people first. And I gave a lengthier presentation on what these three budget priorities are at the budget workshop. They're laid out in the manager's message if anybody wants to review that there. But it's a recognition that in these times there's a lot of stress to do the job. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of specialization. It's a service organization. How we can best serve our community and provide the municipal services that we do are done through people. Nothing happens without them. And so by investing in the people, you're investing in the service that your residents receive. Second is implement the plans. Wendell has good, solid plans based on community input and direction from the board. They're adopted. Y'all have heard me before. You put it in the plan. We'll do our very best to show you how to get it done. And this budget, probably more than any of the prior three since I've been here, starts really digging into those plans and getting stuff on the ground. Maintain core services and fiscal structural balance. There's a fiscal conservative that's important across North Carolina and definitely a priority of this and prior boards in Wendell. It's set out in our statutory guidelines of how local government is managed and run and reflected in this budget. The number budget total is $500,000 larger than presented at the budget workshop. It's because, good news, we received a $500,000 grant, and so revenues go up $500,000, expenses go up $500,000, but otherwise, no big changes, or no changes. So that gives you a total balanced budget, revenues and expenses of $28,082,426. While this does represent a 20.4% increase over last year, when you carry over $9.5 million approximately of capital expenses from our current year, it's pretty easy to get well on that way to the 20%. So we're finishing up some large projects that we took the bank loan out last year as a part of a total of a little over $15 million in planned capital expenses. There's no change in the property tax rate. So the property tax is proposed in the final budget at 47 cents per $100 of taxable value. And the budget document is always available for public review and discussion. I welcome those discussions anytime with the public. Lots of little numbers and words on a page from those of us out here in the public. Again, just updating the expenses and where the money is spent. All of these tables can be found in the budget summary section of the budget book. So it gets into detail of where money is spent, and then later in the departments on how it's spent.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
I think you rightly pointed out that lots of bright colors there, but I think some of those colors represent investments in departments that have changed historically or over time. And I'd love for you to touch on some of the departments that are seeing budget infusions this year that historically haven't seen it, or where those bubbles are growing.
Oh, definitely. So, Parks and Recreation is one area that's a larger wedge there. This coming year's budget, there's funding to complete design and construct the second park of Wendell, outside of Wendell Park, which is a great large community park, but our first neighborhood park getting constructed. There's improvements at Wendell Park with replacing out the concession stand and restroom building, providing Wi-Fi and doing some improvements to community gardens. So it's freshening up our existing facilities. Refreshing Carver Fields is the last ball field replacement. So construction of Main Street Greenway, the first section of many miles of Greenway in Wendell that are planned. So there's the first of significant investments in Parks and Recreation. Public building and grounds is another area of growth. Before I leave Parks and Recreation, that's also where things like new community centers, like the Pleasant Grove project, so taking the old Carver School and converting that to a community center falls under Parks and Recreation expenses. That'll eventually be a $7 to $10 million project, probably at build out, but in the next couple years we expect to have the building designed, stabilized, and opened up functionally as part of a larger community project. Looking over at public building and grounds, you have finishing a town hall. If someone's gone by the park lately, they'll suddenly notice that new road on the left that leaves the Pecan Grove alone and goes to the side of that and cuts off the field behind the little residential section on 3rd Street. That's the new town hall site. So there's still a large chunk of that number going to that. Doing the design work for a new public works yard is in the budget for this coming fiscal year. There's land for park acquisition, North Side Neighborhood Park that encompasses what would have been Pepper Point Phase 2 is now being combined with some HOA land and a dam repair to create a North Side Park to wrap our northern neighborhoods. Includes working with Wake County on the Wake Equity property to add another 115 acres to Wendell Park, moving on up Buffalo Creek as part of both the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and the Land Use Plan recently adopted, identifying that Buffalo Creek corridor as the central park of Wendell in the future in a large open space effort. So there's nearly $1 million of funds for that. There's fully funding when you get into some of the, well, public building and grounds is also in streets, which is a fairly new, that's actually a fairly new budgetary department in Public Works. You have year 2 of a 5-year pavement replacement program. And so it's fully implementing a plan to keep maintaining our streets. Most of this coming year is slurry work, like what we had done this spring. And we'll be starting that off in July, so a little earlier this year, getting those bids and contracts out. Also in streets is $250,000 for sidewalk maintenance improvements and additions. So trying to implement ADA and pedestrian plan efforts to implement gaps and replace out damaged, non-compliant sidewalk, and make sure people can get to our downtown businesses and getting back and forth between the parks and their neighbors in a safe manner. Goodness, there's a lot, and it's a fairly large document. You get into public works and police and law enforcement, you're getting more into the people that are doing the jobs. Those tend to be your larger wedges there. Stormwater is a fairly new department as well. You're seeing that grow. The fee doesn't cover that cost at this point, and that's something we'll have to continue to evaluate moving forward. But it is an increased commitment to maintaining the drainage structures within the road rights-of-ways that are the town's responsibilities, and getting those reshaped and culverts cleaned out or replaced as needed over time, as part of the program that Joe Collins presented earlier. Economic development has a larger number than normal. $500,000 brownfield program is going into that. It's being split into several areas, and be putting out bids after we do our EPA grant agreement early summer, prior to being able to expend money this fall. Some of that will go to the Pleasant Grove project we mentioned before. Some might be to assess pre-regulatory landfill to see what's needed there. And third is looking at older properties around downtown and getting those assessed and conceptual plans to the point of redevelopment RFPs being released to encourage infill commercial and residential development around downtown. There's a lot of good stuff. We're replacing out phone systems. We're replacing out a server in IT. We had a project management meeting this morning that staff thought would never end, so I want this board meeting to end at some point, but I hope that, was that?
More than suffice, sir.
Okay, thank you. I thought so. You got me going on something I'm passionate about. With expenses or revenues, the main item here that grew is the intergovernmental restricted. That grew by $500,000. Everything else stayed fairly static to what was presented prior. Of course, that number down here at the bottom has to match the number on expenses in a balanced budget, and it does. No new debt proposed in FY23. Our legal debt margin is that 86 million number. So there's plenty of room to borrow, but keeping that available for future need as the town grows. Fund balance, no big changes there. You're still compliant. You're above 40%. with our budgetary fiscal control calculation, definitely above the local government commission minimum that's based on a past year actual. So we're good there. Any questions on the budget document or what it contains before I go on? Okay. There were no changes in the fee schedule as presented from the budget workshop in the recommended to the final budget before your review tonight. There were smaller fees around parks and recreation, comparative analysis, and special events, and planning fees, looking at comparatives, making sure that we're capturing as much developer expense towards the cost of doing business rather than offsetting that with other revenue sources. In general, though, the fees that affect all residents aren't being impacted, so stormwater's not changing, solid waste isn't changing, the vehicle-related fees aren't changing. So from a town standpoint, those fees remain static. As a reminder, Raleigh Water and Sewer can always change outside of the town's control. That's not in this budget. That'd be part of the Raleigh budget. And county taxes and fees are not part of this. That's the county. Any questions on fee schedule? That's exciting stuff. Okay. Pay and classification plan. This is new in the budget this year. It's not new to the board. But just wanted to clearly lay out what all the pay grades, the position titles, and number of positions. Behind each department in the general fund section, there are org charts for each department, so the public can readily see how many positions we have in each department. While we have grown significantly, I think we're a lot smaller than people think we are on a given day. And so our ability of what we can muster at any given time can be limited. We're small but mighty. And the proposed budget increases from 67 to 76 in that total. The 9 new positions, a lot are dealing with maintaining service levels to deal with the growth of our community. So more people making more calls, need more officers to respond and patrol. More people with more debris, more streets to maintain, more drainage to maintain, need more public works. The specialization of administration necessitates not traditional departments in communications or economic development, but we need people who focus on that on a regular basis. And so as we get into more capital projects, having someone who's that design and projects manager helps ensure that in the coming years we can get things done on time. We have people focused on that regularly. More parks means we need more people looking at programs and time in parks. And planning needs a chief cat herder up front this coming year to help deal with all the intake of calls and applications during these busy times and help out with permits when that's not busy. As I said, the people get the work done. If you leave staff the same, it puts strain, leads to burnout. It's the number one reason of turnover in governmental positions, more than any other factor. And so if people can't take vacations, it doesn't really matter what you pay them. At a point, they just need to go. And this helps give people that breather. We'll lag the market. We'll always be a little little tight-staffed, but this keeps up with what we need this coming year. It also reviews a third of the positions in the paying class. Primary department reviewed this year was the police department, and we did several, obviously new positions have to be reviewed to the market and added, and then things like administrative assistants that have crossover from police department. Any questions on pay and classification plan? All right. The first three bullets, major bullets, I presented in April. The one at the bottom is the only new. Increases a revenue line for the Brownfield grant by $500,000, increases expense line and economic development by $500,000. Any questions or concerns about changes to the budget? Thank you. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
You don't get this opportunity till tomorrow morning, I guess. All right, thank you. So, with the appropriate fiscal year 23, the four motions.
Okay, what's y'all's pleasure?
Just a procedural point that we'll make all four of those motions at once and vote on them once.
Legally can, yes.
Okay, yes,
Thank you.
as long as it's okay with Mr. Attorney.
But I'll speak, and I'll certainly have a motion whenever we're ready. Just want to compliment the staff, compliment the community in a lot of ways, compliment the rest of the board, but compliment staff. When I look at this budget, it's starting to sound old hat, but it's better than it was last year. Look, I mean, I remember the days of saying, yes, but we're doing some paving this year, where you're actually going to see paving, or no, we're improving some things at the park this year, or wait till you see you won't really see it, but when you see the new leaf truck, like you'll get it, you'll understand why we had to make some investments. This year does all of that. This year does big capital. This year is going to fix roads. This year is going to put new sidewalk on the ground. It's going to put more sidewalk on the ground than we initially planned. It's making real investments in a park that you can really see. It's building new parks. It's protecting new places. It's prioritizing people, which is important. The way that it's phrased in the budget book doesn't do a good job, in my opinion, of showing you that almost every police officer is getting a pay bump. And that, more importantly, as a former government employee and the son of a government employee, your pay raise never really makes up for the increase in property tax. And I certainly understand how that plays out. But there's always this other piece of compression. And knowing that when you fix one, like this year we're going to fix this, and next year we're going to fix this, the most exciting thing about that pay plan is that where it shows we're following through on the commitment to evaluate each position every 3 years continuously. We may not be the highest paying in Wake County, but we can assure you that we're going to consistently and constantly look to make sure that it's the best place to work. There's a ton of great things in this budget, which is why, Madam Mayor, whenever others have had their opportunity and you're ready, I've got a motion for you.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Anyone else?
I'll just make a quick comment, Madam Mayor. We've said in the past that "and" is a big thing for us, and I am pleased to be a part of the process. I think everybody that is involved, a lot of times we discuss it and it's, hey, should we do this or should we do this? And we've got a lot of ands in here, so tons of things that people, tangible things that people will understand, appreciate, and I'm excited. And I thank you, town staff, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Joyner. I thank you. Summed it up well.
For those who maybe didn't notice, while the town manager was talking, I was kind of looking around the room, and everybody in here just about at some point kind of smiled. And I think it was when you touched on maybe something from their department, or you touched on something that's important to them, or maybe your enthusiasm for this is just contagious. So it could be that and any number of those things, because we all know our town manager loves the budget. But I've got to, in this public forum, confess something. I have had several occasions lately to go out and talk about Wendell. It's this time of year. There's always this group and that group. And I always carry my copy of the budget with me. And I got to talking about it the other night, and 2 or 3 people afterwards said, "You are just so excited about that budget." And I said, well, what it does is we have all these ideas, and we want to do all these various things, and we have a plan. It's organized. We have a variety of plans. It carries out our strategic plan. It carries out the work of that the town board has made priorities of, and it pays for those things. And it is just unbelievable to be part of the idea and to watch it become a part of a plan, to fund it, and then watch it happen. And it's just incredible. And so I have to say, as much as we all smile and laugh at you, you've turned me into a budget nerd too. So I'm going to just confess that in front of everybody. I really appreciate the effort of the finance staff. Every person who works for the town of Wendell plays a role in the budget, every single person. And it's a reflection of them and a reflection of this board, and I'm just really, really proud of it. And I appreciate everyone's efforts on behalf of the citizens, and I can't wait to see all the new things in the budget this year start happening, because it's just really fun to watch, and have seen it from the beginning and then see it taking place. It's very exciting. Thank you, all of you. Anyone else? All right. Want to go?
Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the 2022 Town of Wendell budget, as well as the 2022 Wendell budget ordinance, as well as the 2022 fee schedule and 2022 pay plan.
Just clarify this
And
23.
2023.
I'm sorry.
It's written
Sure.
all on the thing. It's okay.
I should have put.
So we
some
have a
other slide.
motion to adopt the fiscal year 2023 budget, the 2023 budget ordinance, the 2023 fee schedule, and the 2023 pay and classification plan. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that's great.
Thank you all for your continued confidence on behalf of staff. I'll work a little better at figuring out what year it is now.
All right.
But appreciate all of your leadership and guidance that helps staff be able to achieve the things that make y'all excited. Thank you.
All right, we'll move into our other business. Wake County Fire Commission, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Fire Commission meeting was canceled.
All right. Campo, Commissioner Eatman.
At our Campo meeting this month, we had a public hearing and adoption of Campo's 2022-2027 strategic plan. I know we talk about plans all the time, but as we talk about, they really do set the stage, especially when you follow them, to making real things happen at whatever level of government you're talking about. And I'm glad to see that adoption and vote for it. That's a year-long effort that's been underway for a year to replace the 2014 strategic plan for Campo. There are 5 focus areas I want to point out. The first, and these are new, these are different. You know, sometimes a new strategic plan is kind of like dusting off the old ones, but this is 5 new priority focus areas for Campo that'll be in place for the next 5 years, and I think you'll continue to see in investments that are made in transportation in the Triangle. The first is merging and connecting land use planning and transportation planning. Sometimes we talk about our roads plan, and then we come and talk about rezoning decisions, and we don't think about the two. But ensuring that the local land use decisions that are being made across the Triangle match up with the transportation investments and planning that's happening is really important and needs to be coordinated. Enhancing our focus on bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure is a big deal, and it is infrastructure. People get around, get to work, get to dinner, get to the doctor's office walking and bicycling, and ensuring that we have a good, safe way for folks to do that is important. Focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. I know we've talked about that some earlier tonight and some other components of our agenda, but thinking about finding ways to ensure that everybody in our community is included in what we're doing and in the decisions that we're making is very important. Also, Campo acting as a transit champion and a coordinator of local and regional transit initiatives, I think is going to continue to be important. We've talked about transit tonight when it comes to passenger rail. And there are lots of other transit opportunities for us as a region. And ultimately, all of that is summed up in the fifth priority, which is being prepared for the future. I think that's one that we all are thinking about all the time, but sometimes it's worth saying out loud that we do have to be prepared for the future. The future's coming at us fast in Wake County and certainly in Wendell. So glad to be part of that. We also had a public hearing for the upcoming fiscal year's work plan for Campo. That'll be adopted at our June meeting. We also got two updates, one on the Triangle Regional Travel Survey. We talk about traffic counts and traffic studies, and there's a ton of data that goes into this stuff, but sometimes it's a little bit of a mystery. I think it's no secret to anybody who drives or rides the bus or moves outside of their home at any point that travel has changed in a lot of ways during the last 2 and 3 years. COVID has changed the way people move. It's changed when people move. It's changed where people go. And so we're having to update a lot of those assumptions, and we want to have good data to make decisions with. So we got an update from the Triangle Regional Model Service Bureau at NC State's Institute for Transportation Research and Education, which is a long name, but it's basically a bunch of the leading experts in transportation data in not only our state, but in the region and in the country, giving us an update on what traffic looks like here locally in the Triangle and how that will inform transportation infrastructure funding decisions going forward. We also received an update from the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, which is housed at the Triangle J Council of Governments in partnership with Triangle Clean Cities Coalition to talk about electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure. Glad to always find connections to things we're doing in Wendell in these conversations. And as y'all know, our electric vehicle chargers that are owned by the town went live earlier this year. So we're excited to be part of that conversation too. Like I said earlier, the future's coming at us fast, so we got to be prepared for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners' reports. Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a fun time being in Wendell, and not just because we passed the budget in May, which others won't remember the days of the 28th of June. But lots of exciting stuff going on, and wanted to had a lot of fun this past Friday at the Chamber of Commerce golf tournament, which is cool to see the chamber growing by leaps and bounds in ways as the town grows. It's really cool to see our business community come together and get to celebrate that. Be on the lookout for the upcoming Wendell Market. My wife and Ike and the girls got to go check out the last one. It's a really cool, fun evening event. It's exactly what that space on Camping Row was designed for. It's what we thought about back then. It was really cool to see, and very cool to get some art from local makers. I want to congratulate the Wendell Masonic Lodge on their win. They competed in the Carolina Pig Jig as part of the Got to Be NC Festival this weekend at the fairgrounds and won the Grand Champion prize. Very cool to see those guys represent Wendell well. Excited about Meet on Main and so many other things we have coming to what looks like the first normal that summer we've seen in a while. It's going to be cool to be out and about and having fun in Wendell. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lutz.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Eatman.
Just like to wish my friend Commissioner Tarnaski a happy birthday and appreciate you being here with us for this meeting.
Commissioner Tarnaski.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to say a few words tonight and say thanks to the town staff for all their hard work, always, and glad that in our budget we are taking care of our people and also not raising taxes. Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Commissioner Deloach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real quick, Commissioner Eatman looks at me every time he mentions Eastern North Carolina, and I appreciate that. So, I will say when I saw the agenda, I reached out to my friends and leaders in Greenville, North Carolina. Anytime Greenville was on our agenda, which I think that would be the first time, that was exciting. But, to discuss connectivity, which is obviously a big thing, but this is a game changer. You know, this is high-level stuff, so very exciting to see. So I'll just mention that briefly. Same thing Commissioner Joyner said. I had a great time at the Chamber tournament, so thank you to the Chamber for that. We did just have election season, primary, so I'm excited for the new county commissioners. Look forward to speaking with them and spending time with them and working with them. So that's all tonight.
Thank you. Since we last met, I spoke to the Raleigh Wake Home Builders Association. They have me about every year this time. It's, like I said earlier, it's that time of year where I get to get out and get invited to talk about Wendell, which is great. It was really nice to be there. The last time we did it, we were on Zoom, so it was nice to be there in person. There was a lot of interest in Wendell. A lot of great things were said about Wendell, and as always, I got a lot of really nice positive feedback for our planning staff over there about how helpful they are and how great the turnaround is. And I won't say any names, but other communities were mentioned in a less flattering light. So I was very happy that every year they have nice things to say about our people, so that's always nice to hear. I also spoke recently at the Wendell Christian Church. I was invited to speak to the faith community about what they can do to support the town and the greater Wendell community. And that was really nice, and they have some great ideas and some things that I think they're going to be able to carry and do that actually will be able to carry out. So I'm excited to see those things moving forward. I attended the Spring Into the Arts this past Saturday. It was really great, and I appreciate Jeff Pulaski and the town staff and Parks and Rec staff for putting that on. There was great music. East Wake High School Orchestra was there, if any of you were not there, and a great bluegrass band, artists. There were children exhibits from our schools, and it was fun to see all their work. First time we've gotten to do that in a while. We have some really talented kids here in Wendell. They were really proud of what they had submitted. One last quick reminder before we meet again. I think it's already been mentioned one time, Commissioner Joyner, about the Wendell Makers Market on Campin Row. It's Thursday, June 2nd from 6 to 9. That's before our next meeting, so this is the last chance to remind you. That spot is perfect for something like that. The first one was very successful. It was exciting to see, and so you should check it out. It's really fun. It's walkable, fun getting out with your family, so I'd urge you to get out and go to that. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? We're adjourned.
Thank you, sir.